What's up everyone, welcome back to the Durbin Compound. If you haven't met me already, my name is Devin Durbin. So today on the channel we are going over how I organize a pegboard. So out in front of me is everything that I had on my pegboard previously, and we're going to tighten it up a little bit, figure out exactly what I should put back and what I shouldn't. So before I started to put a new coat of paint on the garage, I went ahead and took down all of my things off the wall and the pegboard, and I realized I had a lot of junk. So a lot of stuff that I was sitting on or I had on the pegboard that I never really used. So I do all of my mechanic stuff in the shop. So stuff like my oil filter wrench, that can come off my pegboard. That doesn't need to go back on. What I recommend to you is if you're trying to reorganize or you want to make a pegboard, if you haven't seen how I make a pegboard, you can check out the video up here or in the description below, and I talk about how to actually put it on the wall. Now we're talking about exactly what you put on there, how you set it up to be most efficient for you. So every person is different, every person grabs for a tool a different way. It's going to be set up different versus left-handed or right-handed. You want to set it up so it's most efficient for you in your situation. So I had set it up one way, things like this. I had a little cheap plier kit from Kingcraft. It's been hanging on the pegboard for years. I'm probably just going to scrap it because I never use it and they're crappy pliers anyways. Things for measuring and stuff like that. All of my levels, my water level, I do use those on a fairly consistent basis, and I would like them stationed in the garage, so they are going to stay on my pegboard. Certain hand tools that you use for little projects, stuff in the garage are little things that I tinker on, whether I glue something or I put something together with a little hand tool. So I'm going to set those things up near the bottom so I can reach them. Things like knives, brushes, little wrenches, and maybe a mechanics tool set for little stuff. But I'm not doing any car mechanics in here, so it's literally going to be around the garage, around the general area. Set up like that. So let's kick it around to the pegboard and I'll show you exactly how I'm going to go about it. Alright guys, so we're over here at the pegboard. Now we want to figure out exactly what tools we use all the time. I'm going to put those down here along the bottom. So I usually pick up an assorted pegboard hook accessory kit every time I actually do a new pegboard. This allows me to have extra of pretty much everything, every hook and loop or whatever. So go over it first. The hand tools are the most often used here in the garage. So unfortunately you're gonna look at the back of my head, but let's hang up some hand tools. So more than likely what I grab for first are my hammers. More than likely that's going to be the first thing off of the pegboard. So obviously I just set it up until I'm happy with where they hang and how they hang. That one doesn't fit this hammer very well. That might not go on the board. I might move it up for my framing hammer and a dead blow. So go ahead and set that up for my framing hammer and a dead blow to go right behind it. Okay, next thing on the list are my wrenches. So I always grab for my adjustable wrenches. They're 3 different sizes. I like them sitting kind of next to each other, but not on the same plane here. So let's grab another small hook and let's see how they hang up like that. So it just depends on what you're doing, what you want it to look like. This is just how I go through. When I do it, everybody will be different. That wrench is huge, so it's going to probably be up here. Okay, and then my second smallest one probably here somewhere. Okay, hangs a little bit in the way. Maybe I'll hang it on the same plane like that. That looks good. Okay, another small one. Another small hook. This is why it's easy just to have an assortment of little hooks and stuff so that you can always play around with what looks good, what doesn't look good. That looks good. I reach for those the most often. My pry bar, more than likely I use that more than a lot of things. We'll put that on a little straight guy like this. Okay. Boom. Now, obviously my vise is in the way, so you know, it's kind of hard to reach past the vise on that side of the pegboard. So that's where I want to stick stuff that I don't use very often. So right down through here, we're going to do some pliers. I think we're going to hang a set of pliers in each of these, see how this works out here. So usually I use a pair of diagonal cutters. Looks like we're not going to use the bottom. Let's go ahead and move that down here. So this is a little boring and mundane, but nonetheless, this is how you kind of have to set up your garage, how you're going to use it. Any pegboard, whether it's in your shop or in your garage or in a utility, in a shed or wherever, you just have to think about it a little bit and set it up how you want. That looks pretty good. So that allows me to pull these out. I need to get some retaining clips on here. It allows me to pull these out well here. All right, next let's do screwdrivers. So never found a really good way to mount screwdrivers other than these cheap things here. Sometimes I've made a little bracket for them with holes to go down in through there. I'm not keeping a lot of screwdrivers here, so we're just going to put our set like that, and let's stick some screwdrivers in them. Okay, so I usually always have a number 3 around, Phillips. Let's go ahead and elevate that a little bit here. I always have a number 3 Phillips around, a number 2 Phillips around, and sometimes you use a 1, but I usually have a stubby. You can use a stubby, a big flathead, a small flathead, and these little guys. So sometimes with these little guys, what I would do is take the rings and actually crimp them tight here so that your screwdriver will stay in there. If you have a small screwdriver, it doesn't like to stay in there. Sometimes I've seen people stick them through the pegboard and set them on the wall like that, but they often fall. Anytime you manipulate the board, they just fall out. So it's just what works best for you. My little ratcheting screwdriver can also go in here and be held like that. So not the best solution for screwdrivers, but it works. All right, let's go on up. Another thing I'm forgetting is my utility knife that I use all the time. So I'm going to put that right here on the left-hand side. I rarely use this around the vise sometimes, but more than likely I work on this side of the bench, so I want my tools to be, you know, on this side. All right, so got my knife holder here. How the heck did I hold that before? I must have had a smaller one that fit this. I forget how I had that before. So this is exactly the pains, trials, and tribulations of setting up a pegboard. So let's try something like this for my new 12-inch level. Boom, sits right there. I like that. I might make a different style holder for this utility knife here somewhere because I use it often. So I might just hold it somewhere. I remember what I did before. I was holding it in here like this. I was holding it in between a pair of pliers. I forget how I did that. But nonetheless, I mean, you're going through and you're setting it up just how it works for you. So I'm going to time lapse and we're going to set the rest of this pegboard up, and hopefully you won't look at the back of my head very much, and then we'll wrap this video up. All right, guys, so if you stayed around for the entire time lapse and you saw how I put everything up on the wall and how my video cut out in the middle of it, I didn't even realize it. This is how I set up my pegboard. It takes some time, it takes some thought. Some of the times I put like items together, sometimes I have onesies and twosies off to a different side depending on how much I use it. So I hope this helps you on how to think about setting up your pegboard a little bit. Over time you'll develop a better way of putting it together. Sometimes people just slap it together and they never think about it ever again, and they just deal with, well, I got to go around to do the, or get the tool that I need. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you stuck around for the time lapse. As always, please hit subscribe. Please give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. Interact with me in the comments. Let me know if you guys got any opinions or things you'd like to see in the future. And as always, we'll see you guys next video.